What's the deal, YouTube? It's your girl, Miss Honey. Welcome back, welcome back, welcome back, you guys. I already know this is Woosah Wednesday, and we do Queen Sugar every Wednesday. This is season 2, episode 7. I Know My Soul. We knew leaving off last episode that this episode 7 was going to be an emotional episode, and it did not disappoint. So, before we dive into this meaty episode, let us go ahead and do some housekeeping. If you are new to my channel, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. I promise you won't regret it. As well as hit that thumbs up button. It lets YouTube know and it lets me know that you like my content, as well as comment down below. If you've seen any of my other previous videos, you will see that we love to comment and banter back and forth about every episode down below. Okay, you guys. Let me apologize also for this video being late. Normally, I put the video up Wednesday night. This is actually going up Thursday because I have a scratched cornea, which would explain the glasses. And so blinking yesterday was just causing me so much irritation. And every time I would blink, it would tear up and my nose would start running. And I was a mess. And so I said, you know what? Let me spare the honeybees. Y'all know how much I love y'all. Without further ado, let's do Queen Sugar, season 2, episode 7, I Know My Soul. So, of course, we are right back where we left off on last week, and that is Aunt Vi trying to get the siblings together to talk about this new revelation that Papa Bordelon left the entire farm, land, house, lock, stock, and barrel to Ralph Angel and essentially to Blue. Now, I want to point out make that point because, you kind of do have to say to yourself, why would Papa Bordelon do this? Okay. And when I think back on it, I think to myself, Blue, he would have left that land to Ralph Angel for Blue. Okay. Remember, we came from last week, which was Line of Our Elders, to this week, I Know My Soul. All right. And Ralph Angel, as well as Blue, fits into that line of eldership. And it would stand to reason that if Ralph Angel had control over the land, not only would he grow, become better father, better farmer, better individual, period, but also that is something that will trickle down to Blue. And remember, Blue spent time with Papa Bordelon on this land. They were known to be road dogs. So it would stand to reason to me. You guys let me know what you think down below, that maybe Papa Bordelon did this because of Blue. I mean, that's a thought. I'm prepared to be wrong, but hey, let's talk about it down below. First character we're gonna talk about is Nova. Boy, I tell you, Rutina Wesley is playing this part. All right, she's playing this role. She's giving us full on anger. I am not going to regurgitate every insult and harsh word that was spoken. I am going to touch on some because I think they're important to our story, but I'm not interested in regurgitating that anger. It can be very emotional. So it's like I said, it's Nova is especially vicious and especially brutal in this episode. But what I noticed in this episode 7 is that all of the characters, especially the siblings, have these feelings. Remember, the title is I Know My Soul. So they have these feelings, okay? And so Nova feels like she was a disappointment to her father. Okay, so all of that venom and viciousness that she is spewing out to Ralph Angel, directly at Ralph Angel. Now, she is being short and curt with Aunt Vi, in the conversation when they are all grouped together. And she seems like she's barely speaking to Charley. She seems very aloof from Charley all of a sudden, even though they had this moment at the mill last episode. She's a little aloof from Charley. But Nova's especially angry because she feels like she was a disappointment to her father. When they have this conversation and she goes to her room and she makes to an empty room at Aunt Vi's house, she's making a phone call to Mr. Dubois to tell him she won't be able to make it to Atlanta. There's some family issues, and just as she's about to, start schmoozing and kikiing and forgetting about that situation, in comes Aunt Vi and she gets off the phone with Mr. Dubois. And Aunt Vi says, "What do you think about this whole mess?" And she says, "Nothing to think about it. If Daddy wanted to leave this land to Ralph Angel, what can I do about it? Obviously, that's something he wanted to do." Okay, well, why are you cutting your brother's balls off? Why are you talking to your brother so horribly, girl? You know what I'm saying? What's going on? What's really happening here? And she tells her that every time she would see her father, he would say, "When you gonna settle down, girl? Baby, when you gonna give me some grandbabies?" Okay? And so he would ask all the time. All right. And so she just kind of avoided the situation, avoided coming to see him for that reason. She didn't really feel like he accepted who she was and what it was she was trying to do. And then Charley had Micah. And then Ralph Angel had Blue. And it was like he stopped asking. And she feels like him giving this will over, in this will, giving this land over to Ralph Angel is like saying, "You were never going to get married. You were never going to have children, obviously. So why you leave you this land?" She feels like her father was disappointed because she didn't do what he wanted her to do or fulfill these expectations. You know, and I know people will say that's stupid, that's dumb, yada, yada, yada. But I know my soul. This is how I feel. Okay? That's what this whole episode is about. This is how I feel. This is how I'm acting out in the midst of how I feel. All right? That's what this title is about. So, of course, Aunt Vi squashes that. She tries her best and she tells her, "Listen, that's just what daddies do. That's what daddies do. He wanted these things for you. Doesn't mean that's something you had to do." Also, so we see Nova, um, she's taking it as a punishment. Like he gave this land over to Ralph Angel just to punish her. It seems odd, but I get it. Later on, we see Nova going through the lockbox, okay? And she's looking through everything in the lockbox, and she is pulling out pictures of Ralph Angel, of Charley, little mementos from each one of them. When she gets to the bottom, she finds a picture of her, and I think her mom. Well, she comes upon this ring, and I think that ring was her mom's wedding band. And I think maybe he was asking her some of these questions sometime. Maybe he wanted to give her this ring. I don't know if these are some things that she may be reconciling with herself in this moment. All right. Later on, we see Nova come out swinging on Ralph Angel. That's how she got the lockbox, right? We're gonna talk about that. But this how she got the lockbox. She hollered at him and yelled at him, "Go get this letter. I want to read it for myself. Go get it." Very, very angry. Very, very harsh. All right. She is on a tear in this episode. We see her doing research, and she discovers while she's down at the library doing research. Now, this is after they have left the farm, gone their separate ways. Nova comes back to talk to Aunt Vi, and she tells her, "Why didn't you tell me you used to own part of this land?" And Aunt Vi said, "Wasn't nothing to tell." Okay, but we're gonna talk about that. We're gonna talk about why Aunt Vi didn't talk about leaving the fact that she used to own part of this land. At the end of the episode, we see Nova packing her bags to go to Atlanta to see Mr. Dubois. All right, so let's talk real quickly about Charley. Charley is she right there with Nova, but she does have a different way of approaching it. She speaks with venom, but it's in more of a condescending way. All right. So it's almost like Ralph Angel has this two-headed monster. One is Charlie's head and one is Nova's head. And honestly, he's sticking to his guns in a very, very childish manner at times. But I can see why he would feel childlike given the fact that his sisters are in attack mode right now. I mean, they're tagging off. They're not together, but they're together on this issue. And we see a lot of that from Charley. We see her step out for a moment and she is talking to the reporter and she is trying to give some instructions as to how they're going to do this interview. Remember, she promised him in an interview regarding her divorce. They're talking about this interview. We see Charley confront Ralph Angel in one of their conversations at the farm about why didn't Daddy take it to a lawyer? You know, why did he do it in this manner? And you know, they're just she and Nova both are just kind of trying to figure out why would Daddy do this for you? And with every turn, Ralph Angel is insulted. With every turn, Ralph Angel is insulted, and they don't really seem to have any affect for the fact that he is insulted. You know what I'm saying? Like there's no going too far in this conversation. Later on, we see that Charley gets a call from Remy, and basically there is a farmer there who wants to bring his cane sugar, but he doesn't have a contract. And Remy is kind of vouching for him. We've got a load going in. We can definitely take this load and get this done before the day. I just wanted to just let you know that she says, yeah, as long as we have a contract, he can bring his all the goods and services he needs. He can get down there at the mill. And so Remy is like, no, no. I mean, I know he needs a contract. I understand that, but I'm vouching for him. In other words, why make him wait when we can go ahead and get it started, get it done, and I'll vouch for him. And Charley is busy with this family business, and this family business, this will business, has shifted her back into that Charley that has to control every single solitary thing, right? And so she basically dismisses Remy and just tells him, listen, 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 listen. Sure, yeah. If he wants to do this, we need to dot all our I's and cross all our T's. He can wait for the contract. And before Remy could take a breath to say something else, she hangs up and goes back in the house. When she goes back in the house, Darla and Ralph Angel is sitting there, and she tells Darla, I need you to go to the office and take care of something for me and get some contracts together for me. And Darla's like, okay. And Ralph Angel's like, no, the two of you guys are here together ganging up on me. I need her here with me. And she says, Ralph Angel, I hire her as my employee and I need her to do this. And Darla is torn. Ralph Angel wants her to stay, but Charley wants her to go. And Ralph Angel is her man, but Charley is her boss. She don't know which way which way is up or down. He's telling her no, you can't go. I mean, he's like, no, no. I said no, you can't go. And she's just like, ugh. And we're going to talk a little bit more later on about how this panned out between Darla and between Ralph Angel, but essentially she goes on. Charley, when she goes back in the house and they are talking once again as a family, she's talking with Ralph Angel, no disrespect, but how you gonna run? How you gonna run shit without my funds? How you gonna do all of that? Okay, and we've all said that. How can Ralph Angel run this farm without the help of his sisters? I mean, he's got quite a few obstacles, so it's a legitimate point, and I do think that Vi seconds that point. But one of the things Charley is struggling with is she feels disregarded. Okay, there is a part of her that needs to be needed. All right. But there's also a part of her that needs to be helped, needs to be recognized as wounded, as hurt, as having feelings, as not always being okay. She has this conversation with Aunt Vi. She has this conversation with Aunt Vi, and essentially, whenever she would come to visit, there wasn't a room for her at Papa Board Alone, so she always had a room at Aunt Vi's, and Aunt Vi always kept a room for her there, and she never treated her like she was a step sibling. She always treated her the same as she did Ralph, Angel, and Nova, and Charley, admonishes her for that, and it's a good moment. And Aunt Vi tells her, "You because you are. This is we all are a family together. I never treated you differently because I don't see you as differently." And Charley is saying people always want me to do, but they don't realize my feelings get hurt. I get tired. I get overwhelmed. It's almost like I'm supposed to be strong and I'm supposed to be, put my feelings aside, and I feel disregarded when it comes to that. So Nova feels this like a disappointment, and Charley feels disregarded, like no one's acknowledging her, who she is, and the fact that she is a person that also has pain and anguish as well. What I think is so funny is that everybody is saying the same thing about Charley, and she is not hearing it in the moment, but we see her later on sort of make those adjustments. And we know this about Charley. Charley always needs things to marinate for a moment. After they all leave the farm, we see Charley at home making herself a cup of tea. In comes Micah. He's been at his dad's house, and Davis is with him. Davis comes in and he tells her the place looks nice. It's coming together. You're doing a good job pulling it together. And he has a housewarming gift. Micah gives his dad's dap and goes on to the room. Turns out he's brought Charley a beautifully wrapped gift in this ice cream maker. He always regretted that he did not allow her to put it on the gift registry when they got married. So he bought her one for this new place. And she tells him thank you and all of that. And then she tells him that she has to let him know that she is doing an interview with this magazine, which he goes immediately into congratulating her. And that's huge, and being excited for her. And she says, and I'm going to talk about our divorce. And his demeanor changes, and he says, why you always got to, you feel like you got to flip the script anytime you want to. You feel like you can flip the script. In other words, it always got to go your way, Charley. It always got to be what you want, when you want, how you want it. And she says, listen, I'm going to be fair. I'm going to give you equal time. It's going to be balanced. And, that's not really the point. Now, what the point is, I'm not really sure. We can see Davis trying to make some changes now and reconcile himself, which I think is great. But I think we would be remiss if we did not continually remind ourselves that Davis did a really, really horrible thing. Not in what I feel was a beautiful scene. We see that Remy comes to see Charley, and this is after he has talked to her on the phone about the guy at the mill, and after he has waited with the guy for the contract to come so that they can get started on his sugar cane. And this is after he's had a small conversation with Darla, which we're going to talk about. End of the episode, basically, we see him sit down with Charley, and she is completely oblivious to how she has been dismissive and blown him off this whole day. And so he starts to tell her about her father. This is the second time in the episode that he makes mention of her father, and the things that her father has said about her. And the first time was with the dude at the mill, but we're going to talk about that. The second time was, he tells her, he says, your dad used to say that you were, I used to say, he used to talk about you all the time, and I used to say you were smart. And your dad was saying that, yeah, she's smart, but she's a little bit more than that. She's thoughtful. And so he thought that that was odd, and he realized to himself, um, early on when he met Charley, okay, thoughtful. I get that. You bring this meal to the community, you include the community into it, and you doing these other things. And at this time, she's smiling because she feels like he's giving her a compliment, and she's here for a little compliment, a little um, joy and relief because she's had this tumultuous morning with her family, right? Of bitterness and gnashing of the teeth and dragging each other. And so here she's getting some accolade, you know. And so he says, but now I think about everything as a whole, including this meal and the things that you're doing within this interview, and how you moving in that arena. I wonder by thoughtful if your father meant calculating, and her face cracks, right? Because she realizes this is going south. Now, let me put a pin in this because this is a difference between a real man when they get mad, okay, and a boy man when they get mad. It's not all about you being a bitch and a hoe and a trick and all of that stuff. A real man, when he is hurt and when he is damaged, you can feel the heat and the weight of how disappointed and angry he is at something that you have done. And he cut her deep and didn't even call her out of her name. When he said calculating, that was like a knife twisted in her gut. Okay, because this is right, the cherry on top of what everybody else was saying. Davis, the reporter, Ralph Angel, about her being controlling and or calculating, always having to control the narrative herself, okay, or control the situation herself, right? So and he says, when I look at how you're using your marriage to spin this article and to get this publicity for the meal, he says, I just wonder if you aren't more than being a thoughtful, kind person, maybe you're just calculating. And she said, you need to walk away. Please go. And he gets up and walks off. But before he does, when she said you need to walk away, he just brought it down a little bit, but he never broke his stare. Oh no, baby. Oh no, baby. We need to talk about, yeah. I'm just calling you out. I'm just, you know what I'm saying? Okay, you need to walk away. And so then he leaves. It was a good moment. The last scene was given to Charley, which was this interview, the start of this interview, and it comes up with her practicing and they're doing her makeup. Charlie's a beautiful woman, doing her makeup, getting her hair done, and she's rehearsing. Then we see the interview start, and he asks her how she thinks her father would feel. And before she goes to answer, she kind of loses it. She's got her script, but for whatever reason, she can't speak that script out. For whatever reason, she is stumped, numb, dumbfounded, stricken dumbfounded, or as my grandma used to say, confounded. And she says, I don't you asked me how I think my father would feel? And he's like, yeah. And she's like, I don't know. Okay. All right, so let's talk about Ralph Angel. Ralph Angel never feels good enough. Okay. This is what we are constantly seeing him um jumping to conclusions about what people mean. Sometimes he's right. Quite a bit he's right, or there's a measure of truth to his going off, but a lot of it comes off in this projection of I'm gonna be all right. I'm fine. I don't need nobody. He never feels good enough. And some of the things that he says to Charley and to Nova in this episode with Aunt Vi present is momentous. Okay, he says to just because you two only see my mistakes, don't mean I ain't good enough. All right. He when we see this whole conversation about Nova wanted him to go get the lockbox. She wanted to see this letter for herself, and she barks at him. He walks down the steps past Hollywood and Darla and Blue playing cards on the steps, and they want to know where he's going. He said they want to see it. They want to see it with their own eyes, so I'm going to go get it for him. And so this is where we see just a little bit of jovialness from Ralph Angel. You know what I'm saying? It's like a weight has been lifted off of him. He really believes in this letter. In this moment, I want to say, to me, Darla looked a little guilty. I don't know why Darla looked guilty, but she looked guilty to me, y'all. We're going to talk about Darla because I've come to some conclusions about Darla that I think I want to go out on a limb on and say in this review. So stay tuned for that. We see that um later on when Charley comes in and she wants Darla to go and do these contracts, Ralph Angels acts like a complete and utter control freak. He does. No, 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 you can't go. No, you can't leave me. And then we see him, Darla, talking outside, and he's still unbudging. He's still not moving. And Darla really, really kind of breaks it down to Ralph Angel. I never do this to you. This is my job. The only reason I took this job with Charley is because I lost my job at the toll booth. I lost my job at the toll booth because I was helping you. I took the job with Charley because I'm helping us. I'm helping the family. We need a second income. I never do this to you. He still doesn't budge in his anger at all. When after he had brought the letter back, and Aunt Vi had read the letter to the all of the siblings. Um and and Nova goes in really, really especially hard on Ralph Angel about um baby dad left this land to you because you the biggest screw up. Maybe he felt like you needed the most because you always messing things up. And she says um that Daddy didn't even agree to marry Mama until she was pregnant with you. To do right by Mama until she was pregnant with you. And Ralph Angel tells her that I was 10 when Mama died. And I thought I would have you as a big sister. Dad thought I would have you as a big sister to look up to, and you got ghosts. And she said we all deal with things in our own way. Still very callous. We don't see anyone budging in their anger in this episode. We don't see anyone budging. Through all the momentous emotional conversation with Aunt Vi and Hollywood and Remy, we still don't see budging from our siblings in this episode. All right. After everyone's broken up and left the farm, Darla comes back by the farm, and she's there to see little Blue. And he says, I thought you was gone, you had made up your mind. And she's just like, you know what? I thought about how pissed off you were, and I thought to myself, I'm not gonna let that keep me from spending time with my son. So she there to take him swimming. And he said, so what you gonna do? She said, we can come and we can talk about this if you willing to see things my way. You know what I'm saying? If we really talk about this, or I could just pick him up and go. So he hollers out for Blue in anger. Blue, get your swimming trunks. And looks at her. She said, I'll wait in the car. It's a mistake, Ralph Angel. It's a mistake. Later on, we see Ralph Angel in the shed, and this this scene looks so much like where I grew up as a child in the country. Those little white flowers in the field that all the bumblebees used to clamor all over, and that shed. And then when that breeze goes through and shakes that hat hanging on the hook, and he sees his daddy's hat and puts it on, okay, and walks outside to greet Hollywood as Hollywood is coming out the house with two beers, looking just like Ernest Bordelon, y'all. Oh, and he said, Aunt Vi sent you. And Hollywood said, I don't need Aunt Vi's permission to come see a buddy of mine. Okay. And he tells Hollywood, everybody's turning against me, even Darla. I don't even know if we're going to be together. I don't know what to do. I'm not sure what to do. Well, Hollywood tell him you're gonna do what everybody else do. You're gonna get up, you're gonna wake up, and you're gonna work this land like every other farmer do, and you're gonna take care of your family. Okay, this too shall pass, and Ralph Angel needs to hear this. It's an important moment. Okay, so let's talk about Aunt Vi real quick. Aunt Vi um, is just popping in and out between the kids. She's not forcing herself. She's not trying to control each one of them. Shut up, sit down. I said, be quiet. She's not doing any of that. She's hearing them all out. She's heard um, Ralph Angel out. She's heard Nova out. She's heard Charley out. She understands all their perspectives. And when Nova when she reads the will out to all the kids, she tries to kind of navigate as they speak harshly and in anger to one another. Okay, and when Charley presents to no to Ralph Angel that, hey, how you gonna do this without us? You know what I'm saying? How is it how can you get this done without us? And he's like, I'm gonna work the farm, I'm gonna do my best, I'm gonna get a second job, I'm gonna, you know, cut off a limb. They're jumping in there, but you didn't know he didn't have a part-time job. And why didn't you work? He said, don't you think I would have worked it if I want to? She sees that he is trying to keep up with how they're coming at him with all of these questions and comments, and she just puts her hand on his wrist and she says, baby, I understand where you're coming from, but I think Charlie's right. How are you going to do this without your siblings, without your family? How can you do this by yourself? And he's like, I'll find a way. I'll find a way. She backs up off of it. She backs up off of it because she already know that they all got to forge their own way. All she can do is just try to guide as much as she possibly can. We see where Nova goes and does the research and brings it back and throws the information down on the table in front of Aunt Vi where she had out there snapping peas. And she never stopped snapping peas. Never stopped snapping beans, okay? She says, we did all that talking about the will, and you never once said that used to own part of this land. And that's when Aunt Vi tells the whole story about um, Papa Bordelon and Jimmy Dale. Well, evidently, when she was 17 years old, she met a man named Jimmy Dale. And Jimmy Dale wasn't no good. And her father, her brother, Ernest Bordelon, forbid her from seeing it. Nova said, what did you do? She said, I did what any 17-year-old who think they know everything would do. I kept seeing him, ran off with him, married him, bought this house. It wasn't long before he started taking my money and beating me. All right. And she said because she chose to do this with Jimmy Dale, her and Ernest didn't speak. Even at their mama's funeral, she cried, so she didn't know if she was crying about her mama being gone or crying at the fact that her brother was still living and gone because they wasn't talking. They ain't talked for a long time. But when he got word that Jimmy Dale was hurting her, he flew back from California. Now that is a point because this is how Charley came about. Why was Papa Bordelon away from the farmland in California? Okay. Was his mom and dad and them still alive? Did they, I mean, how, when he came back, is that when he stayed to run the land? Like, I'm confused. But I did put a pin in that, right? So she said that Papa Bordelon came down and took Jimmy Dale fishing. And when they came back from fishing, Jimmy Dale packed up all his stuff and never showed his face again. So she, in trying to save her house and recoup everything, agreed to go ahead and sell her land to her brother, her share of the land to the brother. And she paid off all of her bills and bought Jimmy Dale out of his side of the house. And and Papa Bordelon, she said, he apologized to her for not protecting her. He apologized to me for not protecting me. She said, I was wrong and he was right, but that didn't matter. What mattered was family. And then she tells Nova, okay? She says to Nova, family above all else. All right? At the end of the day, love always comes first. You know, she says, I want to get this right. Choosing the only thing that matters is what matters. It's a great, great point. Absolutely, absolutely lovely moment we see from Aunt Vi. Let's talk about this whole Darla situation. Darla, for me, I think Darla is definitely Blue's mom. I think she definitely loves Ralph Angel. I think Darla is carrying a secret, and I think that secret is that she is somehow related to the Landrys. I can't prove it. I just have this feeling. There is always a look of guilt on Darla's face. Maybe it's from being an ex-drug addict. I don't know, y'all. I'm just saying. Okay? When she goes on to, it's a great moment when she tells Ralph Angel about having to go into the office. When she goes and walks up to Remy, Remy's having a conversation with the farmer that's waiting on the contract, and he once again has this quip about something that Ernest Bordelon has said about Charley to the farmer, just as a kind of schmooze and kind of keep the farmer calm and everything, because he wants him to put his cane in this mill, contract or no contract. And Darla walks up to give the man the contract to sign, and she is steady wiping tears away and all of that. And Remy stops her and says, hey, you okay? And she's like, just a hard day. And he encourages her as well. Later on, when she gets her big girl panty on, and she goes to confront Ralph Angel and says, you can be mad at me all you want to, but you're not gonna keep me from my son. We see a different side of Darla. Almost like I can do this all day long type Darla. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you're not finna run me, Ralph Angel Darla. At the same time, I don't know, you guys. I feel like there is a looming secret with Darla. I don't know how to explain it, but I feel this way. You guys, that is Queen Sugar. That is episode 7 of season 2. I know my own soul. I hope you guys enjoyed this review. I know it was a little long, but I really wanted us to talk about this situation. I wanted us to talk about this from a feeling standpoint, as more than just a point by point regurgitation of the episode, which I love to do. I just wanted us to talk a little bit more about what is happening emotionally with each one of these siblings, because we are going to see next week is the mid-season. Okay, the mid-season episode, which means they're probably going to take a brief hiatus, and it's going to be a doozy. Remember, everybody left that farm feeling the same way that they were already feeling. They've gotten each other's comments and nasty snide remarks. They packed all that up, as well as their own feelings, and they've gone off to their own corners. All right, but what does this mean for our characters? I think it was really, really important for us to talk about it from a feeling standpoint. Okay, you guys, without further ado, thank you so much for joining me in this video. Again, please subscribe to my channel if you are not already a honeybee. Give me a thumbs up, and remember to comment down below, you guys. What do you guys think about my theory about Darla? I talked with Badu about it down below on last week's review. I just wanted to put it out there. I'm prepared to be wrong. Okay, you guys, let's talk about it down below. Mwah.